The Dan LeBatard Show at Stugotz is presented by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Not since an unhinged and enraged Mike Ryan accused everyone who works at Meadowlark Media of stealing a photo of his daughter off of the refrigerator have we had a stranger theft accusation around here than Stugotz wandering around the studio moments ago wondering who stole his list of top 11 most boring quarterbacks ever to appear in a Super Bowl.
Right.
He's looking under his computer.
Can't find it.
He looked under the cartoon snake over here.
Not there.
He cannot find this list. And Mike Ryan said, flippantly, as if he doesn't understand how much thought goes into these lists of Stugotz, can you just do it off the dome? As if there's not a meticulous preparation and research staff. He's asking you if you can recreate it off the dome. We'll get to that in a second. But before we do so, there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with the group. Michael Rubin is someone I wanted to discuss with Amin because he made the unusual move, Stugotz, of leaving an ownership stake with the 76ers to go to more profitable ventures in sports. He now runs Fanatics. He's the one who put together that white party that had every celebrity in the world in the Hamptons a year ago. And it's worth $31 billion and growing very rapidly. Like, he's going to get into live events. He's looking to take over. He's an aggressive, ambitious person who's going to vie for richest person in the universe. And when I talked to him on Highly Questionable, it's a mindset that is outside of my purview, where he went hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt as a 14-year-old, like trying to run a jet ski business. It's like something I can't even fathom how business minds like this work. But you know something about what he did with the Sixers. He could have stayed there, but he parlayed the relationship with Joel Embiid and sports ownership into something bigger and better than sports ownership.
Well, the reason he had to sell was because the venture he wanted to get into was gambling. He wanted Fanatics.
They have a sports book.
They have a sports book. Yes. And so as an owner, he's not allowed to be involved in
but
that.
he saw more money is what I'm saying.
Of course. I think everyone sees more money in that as it's being legalized in more and more states. And so at that point, that's the inflection point for him is I can continue to own this team and be, a part of this thing that one day if I sell my stake, will bring back many, many millions, or I could be making many, many millions right now doing this other thing. And so he sells at a high point, I might add, and invests that money into doing what is going to make him a lot more money. And because of his relationships that he had built during his time as an owner, now he's got all the people. He has access to all these people that maybe before it was a little, hey, are you allowed to talk to that guy? Because, is that tampering? Is that not tampering?
Or maybe it was a lotta.
Well, now he doesn't have to worry about that. He can talk to whoever he wants.
It's a fascinating venture, though. All of it. Not just what he's building, but how he built it.
The jet ski thing is new to me. I did not know that he started as a 14-year-old selling jet skis.
But it's an entrepreneurial mind that is outside. My mind doesn't work that way. I've sort of had entrepreneurship forced on me. It's not. I don't use that side of my brain. It confuses me.
You didn't ask for any of this?
I did not ask for any of this, no. But
He went to college for a year and said, I'm wasting my time here. I can't make money here. I can make money if I leave college. He left and made a lot of money.
Do you remember what the things you guys were doing at 14 years old?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Same things I'm doing now.
Yeah, about 5 times a day.
Yep. Dave Canales, eat your heart out.
Business at 14 years old, that is something that is just simply unfathomable to me. I wanted to ask you guys.
One clarification, Dan. In the neighborhood of jet skis, but it was a ski ramp, not jet skis.
Fine.
That changes
I say
everything.
$1.50.
Yeah.
I don't think, that's not the way that I remember the story being
That's
told
not
to
the way
me
I remember how
personally by
fines work.
him.
Yeah.
The story told personally by him, though.
It's Mandela effect.
You're correcting me on
We got to
something.
find Mandela effect.
Yep.
You're finding me for
Shaq
something.
was in Kazam.
Above
Sinbad was
50.
not in Shazam.
He personally told me.
Berenstein.
How much money did he lose? Does it say the number there? Does it say how much he went into debt
what do you
at that
recall?
age? Oh, then you're willing to trust my memory there?
It was in Canadian dollars.
Take a stab at it.
Do any of you guys, did you or do you watch Dave, the
$200,000, Dan.
the FX? That's crazy at that age. That's crazy at that age. How does that even happen? You must come
Brandon
from
Staley, typically.
great wealth. Nepo baby. The FX series Dave, the first season of it was inventive and innovative, fun and huge. It's a big project, and Lil Dicky is now taking time off. He isn't saying he's not going to go back to it, but he needs time off because it has consumed so much of his creative energy. It is a giant creative swing. I mean, you love that show, correct?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It got a little whiny as time went by, but overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun kind of, another one of these quasi-reality. It's not reality. It's all scripted, but you're going to see people like Benny and all these other characters that show up that are real people.
Pitt, by the end, though, Brad Pitt is in it by the end. And did this break Santino, or was he already somebody who was a very popular comic before Dave?
I think the lockdown kind of broke Santino as comedy found this crazy resurgence. We're in a new golden era of stand-up comedy. Instagram Reels and TikTok and podcasts all blew up when people were locked down in their homes. And this kind of was parallel to that. It was a confluence of things that helped break Santino.
Yeah. Someone else said it's a golden age of comedy, I believe, on a podcast called South Beach Sessions. I believe his name is Sam Morril. So you should all check it out. It's out now wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. But I digress. Santino, has he broken? I say this as someone who's a big fan of his work. I think he's hilarious. His stand-up is great. He's been on a lot of shows.
Pod is great.
He had a great Netflix special.
Yeah. So, but has he broken?
Not to the level of some of the other guys.
Right,
like
not A-list, but on the internet, yeah.
Yeah.
On the
He's
internet,
not arenas. He's theaters, though.
Yeah.
Like the Bad Friends podcast is selling out full.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're talking niche. I'm in that niche, so I'm like, yes. But I'm wondering to the common person when I say Andrew Santino.
When you say, okay, let's see, let's analyze this for a second. Rogan is the one breaking comedians. All of the Rogan guys get big economies around them.
He's Johnny Carson now?
Yeah, I don't think
Yes.
Santino was broken on his own with the Bobby Lee and just the social media friendly nature
To
of that
clarify,
show.
we're talking about the redheaded guy on Dave.
Yes.
Because I would bet some people listening do not know who that is.
That's my point.
Yeah, so he's
I'm
not there yet.
I'm with Amin. I like the show a lot, but way too many jokes for me. That type of sense of humor is just, it's not for.
His
It's
name is
way
Lil
too
Dicky.
raunchy for me. I don't like sex
Raunchy?
jokes, penis jokes, jerk off jokes. It's just not for me.
Milking.
Way too many jokes for me personally.
I think it's a smart show.
I was being sarcastic.
I know.
'cause-
She loves
I don't
dick
think
jokes.
Amin really. I should have
think-
laid it on thicker.
I think we. When we talk about comedians and comedians breaking, Jerry Seinfeld is now making a movie. Jerry Seinfeld is damn near 70 years old, Stugotz, and generally speaking, doesn't make bad choices. It's not just I love
B movie.
Yes, agreed.
It was all right.
Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, I thought, was an excellent vehicle for him to try to do something after Seinfeld that can be his, and I love that show. But the choice he's now made with Melissa McCarthy, Fred Armisen, Jim Gaffigan, he's making a Pop-Tart movie, and that one scares me for him. It scares me. Like, there's some star power in there. His Pop-Tart bit is something that he's been doing for a long time. He's broken it out in a bunch of different shows. Everyone loves the Seinfeld Pop-Tart bit.
Remind me of the Pop-Tart bit?
All of these, he just talks about what a wonderful genius delicacy the Pop-Tart is. And it's,
So he's making a movie about it?
he's making
The Dangerous Game.
It's on
man.
Netflix. And it's the thing about all of these comedians that we're talking about. All of them would say that he's the king. All of them would point to him and say that his kind of comedy is the one that they are trying to make him laugh. This movie worries me though, because I look at it and I'm like, man, this is going to be a hard one to pull off.
I learned everything I need to know when you said it's a Netflix movie. I got it. Oh, so let me give you the cliff notes. Hey Jerry, here's a lot of money. Do whatever you want. Like, should you guys need editing, or should I show you guys the slides? Nope. Whatever you want. Money, Jerry Seinfeld. Just do whatever you want. I'll do a movie about this Pop-Tart thing that I've been doing for years.
But don't you think with the cast that you just rattled off that they're going to take a pretty humorous approach to self-serious movies of this nature?
No, but he's taking a big chance, and Amin is right. I totally agree with you. It's a money grab for him.
This is the Adam Sandler formula,
doesn't
folks.
need money.
It's neither is Adam Sandler, but he keeps
doing it.
He keeps doing
making
because Netflix
it.
says,
Everybody
"Here's
needs a little
money.
Never enough.
Here's money," and then in return, you get to hire your friends. And this is going to be the dead giveaway.
He could have got money for just stand-up.
No, but that's work. This is fun. Hang out with my friends all day and not have to worry about making something good.
You guys do all the work.
When Jerry Seinfeld does stand-up, like there's a brand attached to that. Like, this has got to be good. I can't half-ass this. I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I'm one of the greatest comics ever. When Jerry Seinfeld makes a movie, no one has expectations. Just give me the money. Just give me the money.
I disagree, man. Jerry Seinfeld cares what has his name on it.
B-movie.
Was
B
fine
movie.
for what it was.
What was
It's a
it?
TikTok cult classic now.
What?
The kids love the B movie.
Yeah.
I think back positively on B-movie. I don't remember anything about it, but I just remember watching it and being like,
You can't really disparage a children's film.
I
You can't
can.
work up really strong opinions about Bebe's kids.
I can and I will.
Can I say something that I believe all of you will find shocking? Jerry Seinfeld is older than Greg Cody.
No.
it's
way.
crazy. I just
Nope.
looked it up to confirm it.
No,
Impossible.
Not true.
5 months older.
You're looking at the internet wrong. Fine.
How old do you think Jerry Seinfeld is?
Like 60.
Oh.
69.
Nice.
Jerry Seinfeld doesn't need money. Doesn't he have don't he and Leno both have airplane hangars, plural, filled with cars?
It's easy money, Dan.
Why does Dan do this? Doesn't need any more money.
I'm just saying
Neither
that
does Cliff Kingsbury, and he's going back to coach. Why does anyone
Doc
do any of
Rivers?
this
Does Doc Rivers need more money?
Okay, I stand corrected. Forgive me. Cliff Kingsbury surely has as much money as Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. And Jay Leno, you may want to Google News, the most recent garage story.
I don't think I want to do that.
Is it about his chin?
Oh,
There's someone older than Greg Cody.
He got a bunch of burns. It's like a fire.
Yes.
Yeah, bad fire in one of those.
The Dan LeBatard Show with Stugotz is brought to you by Bayer Aspirin, the official sponsor of Fans' Hearts.
This show is a little bit infatuated with Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is famously, wonderfully strange, likes to, spend a lot of money on ancient human skulls and whatnot.
Dinosaur egg.
I think he has owned or owns castles, and he makes a lot of movies, at least in part because there are a lot of taxes to be paid. I don't think there is a more prolific actor. I think Mike Ryan's obsession with Nicolas Cage includes him having a pillow in his home that features the face of a bloated Nicolas Cage, correct?
Bloated is, you're adding that. I think
Aren't
he
we
looks
all?
fine in that photo that's in my pillow. And if it's too much for you, because
On your pillow, not in your pillow.
no,
That's also
it's hiding.
Yeah.
It's hiding. It's one of
Yeah,
those
you
things
gotta
that
swipe.
it can look like a normal red throw pillow, but then if you give it a swipe with your hand, you reveal Cage.
Do we have some video here? His latest movie, Dream Scenario. I don't know if it's his latest. He might have made 4 more since I saw Dream Scenario.
He's got just 17 in development. He's slowing down.
It's excellent, but he's got a ton of bad movies, a ton of bad movies, projects that he does where he seems to always be working. What is this clip that we're throwing it to?
So I tried to not give too many spoilers for this very controversial film for all sorts of reasons, mainly the leading man in the film, but The Flash. And Amin and I were just talking before we started recording about how critically it flopped, box office, it was a flop. But the people that actually went to see this film, the audience rating wasn't so bad because it was great nostalgia. It was kind of this new trend of superhero movies that it had a multiverse, and Nicolas Cage actually has a cameo in this film as Superman. It's great Nicolas Cage lore that there was a Tim Burton Superman film with Nicolas Cage playing Clark Kent in Superman.
Shelved, never seen. No one's ever seen it, or it's not been seen publicly.
Well, no,
it never got made.
It never got made. They were pretty far along in pre-production. They had costume. There's occasionally a costume photo of Nicolas Cage dressed as Superman that'll pop up on your social media. Did you know? So this was actually a really cool part of The Flash, is that you actually got to see some of this vision, Tim Burton's vision, play out as an alternate universe version of Superman appeared. And if you're a Nicolas Cage nerd or a comic book nerd, you kind of popped for this. The problem with The Flash was it was supposed to kind of be in this dream state, and so they had really bad CGI that a lot of people checked out on. And Nicolas Cage was really excited to take part in this role, and he explains his experience on it and how it kind of went south for him.
First and foremost, I was on set. They did put a lot of time into building the suit. And what I was meant to do, and by the way, Andy, who I think is a terrific director, he's a great guy and a great director, and I loved his 2 It movies. Great people, him and his sister. What I was supposed to do was literally just be standing in an alternate dimension, if you will, and witnessing the destruction of the universe. Kal-El was bearing witness of the end of a universe. And you can imagine, with that short amount of time that I had, what that would mean in terms of what I can convey. I had no dialogue, convey with my eyes, the emotion. Okay. So that's what I did. I was on set for maybe 3 hours. When I went to the picture, it was me fighting a giant spider. I did not do that.
How do you not love that guy?
Do any of you think that we can try to convey us watching the end of the universe with just our eyes?
Yes, absolutely. I think we should go around the room. Everyone should give it a try.
All right. This is not great as
that's why
audio.
we should probably keep the content going and sage Doomsday in the penalty box green screen room, and we'll just take turns conveying that.
Actually watch
as the content rolls on.
In the interim,
Good job,
I mean, go ahead. Since it was such a bad idea to execute on the fly, you go be first.
You thought it was a good idea. I mean,
you go and sit in the penalty box, and then you try to convey to us. We will go one by one in there and try to convey to people with our eyes what it would look like if we were witnessing the end of the universe or fighting a giant spider.
I'm just trying to remember what my face was when Brian Windhorst reported that LeBron was going back to the Cavs.
Or when Dan said, I'm going to eat stovetop.
In the time that we're waiting for Amin to get set up, let's introduce Lucy to Andy Reid in the punt, pass, and kick competition when he was 14 years old. This is a video that we used to play all the time on Highly Questionable because it's wonderful and because look at Andy Reid and how much bigger he is than the other kids there, and watch him throw a football right now. Andy Reid throwing a football as a 14-year-old, number 34, launching a pass. About
20.
That's further than Chad Pennington
From the
could ever throw
18
it.
to
Oh, no
the
doubt. Yes.
other 45.
Good math, Chris. Go ahead and, yes, try to figure that out.
He finally releases, maybe the 19 he releases.
It's the 19.
And
About
then
40 yards as a 14-year-old.
Lands on the 45.
But
He's at the 15.
now let's watch Rashee Rice of the Chiefs watching this video, because Lucy, you've never seen this, correct?
Are the other kids 14?
Everyone's the same age, and Andy Reid is twice as large as all of them.
Don't buy it.
Birth certificate? You want to
It's
see?
the bench warmer scene. I am 12. That's what Andy Reid did.
Rashee Rice had the same sort of skepticism that you do. Look at Rashee Rice here, not believing that that's his coach.
I don't know if you've seen this video of your coach. My coach. His helmet's too small. He look like got like a hat on. No, he's tripping. No, there's no way that's it, bro. I swear to God. No way. So if I ask him about it, he go, Yeah, 100%. 100%. What's the name of the team? This is the Rams. This is at halftime of a Rams game. No. I don't know what y'all built, but that's crazy. That ain't go true. Hell no.
I like him.
This is because of AI. You can't trust the video.
Also, way too much flair on these Super Bowl kits for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, come on.
Especially with Mahomes with the captain C on there. You got 4 pieces of flair plus a shield. It's too much, guys. Come on.
You know what I am stunned we haven't gotten to? I am stunned that Stugotz hasn't stormed in here screaming about it because he's got feuds with a handful of esteemed media members.
Yep.
Mike Wilbon. Rich Eisen is a good one. Rich Eisen is indignant that he would ever steal an idea from Stugotz.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Patrick,
Yeah.
did you see what he suggested last week?
Super Bowl Saturday. I mean, the P in Dan Patrick stands for phony. He knows good and well that I have been talking about that for many, many years. In fact, I talked about it 2 weeks ago with Chris Sims, who agrees with me that the Super Bowl should be on a Saturday. I can't believe we're finally having this discussion.
It's a good take. It was a good take at the time you had it. The chief complaint, Lucy, is that he doesn't feel well on Mondays after the Super Bowl. He feels like he needs a day of recovery, like from a hangover.
I think that's fair. I think most of America feels that way. You eat like crap, you're drinking, like that's your best take ever.
My other complaint is when I say it, no one says anything. Dan Patrick says it and discusses it on his show, and all of a sudden it blows up in the big news. Oh, what a great idea. Oh, Dan Patrick, what a forward thinker. Oh, DP, get out of here. I said it 7 years ago, and no one said a word.
You know what, Stu? I was thinking the same thing when I was watching all the Swifties post about Colin Cowherd. I was like, minus you, we've all had that take on this show. How come Dan didn't go viral with it? How come Colin went viral with it? Is it because he's a silver fox to these people? I don't know.
Answer the question.
You just came back in here and you're going while chewing.
No, I'm not.
While chewing.
Not chewing. I was going.
You have the remnants of food in your mouth because while you were watching the apocalypse, the universe collapse in the other room, you were eating something. You were eating chips, I think.
It's called method acting, Dan. You should look at it.
You weren't eating?
I mean, my character was eating, yes. I wasn't.
If you were watching The End of the World, you would get a last meal in, right? I mean,
gotta watch.
Right? Just a quick one?
Cold Stone.
Snack, yeah.
I would eat so much ice cream.
Chicken cutty. I mean,
I feel like that's a spot where you would lose your appetite. I feel like the destruction, the sort of the rivers of sewage running through the streets with human bodies. I would think.
There's one thing that you need to be doing in that spot.
I'm not going to be eating cheesecake.
No? You sure about that? You sure about that?
Severed human heads rolling down the street. You've got me just lopping stuff onto a plate from a Chinese buffet. Like I'm just getting honey chicken and extra fried rice. Rivers of blood in the street.
It's not ideal, but you got to rub one out in that spot.
Really? Now I've lost my appetite even more than I did seconds ago.
You got to at least give it a go.
Are you rubbing one out like for posterity, or is it turning you on? And you're like, I got.
No, it's not. It's certainly not turning me on.
What if
Get your head out of the gutter?
What if you already did it 5 times that day?
Well, you dig deep.
Lucky number 6.
The great ones tell their body not today, or sometimes today for a 6th time.
Fall 5 times, get up 6.
Did I just hear off microphone the word chafing?
Sure
oh, it is a huge issue.
It's not going to matter if you're going to die.
Right.
There's like an injury report. 2 weeks.
That'd be a lot of pressure. I got an hour to live. Get one out.
Put it
An
on.
hour to live?
An hour?
No, this is not an hour. Come on.
Dude, that's like 30 seconds. And then what do I do the other 59 minutes and 30 seconds?
Put it on the poll
Depending
at
on the hub
LeBatard
search.
Show.
Internet's down.
An hour?
Oh, damn.
I was truly terrified that Dan was going to say, all right, just go ahead, go over there, rub one out in 30 seconds or less. And I'm like, wait, Dan, come on. This is a family show.
Is Dan going to check out The End of the World?
I think he is. Or to rub one out. We'll find out together.
Is that
She's
Starship
gonna sleep
Troopers?
through it. Yeah.
It
me
is
too.
Starship Troopers.
With a couch in the middle of it. For
File.
Yeah, that would be an awesome way to watch a movie, right?
This is just what it's like to sleep when you live in Miami. The noise outside
This is
just
what's happening around you.
Yeah. That is actually stock footage from our time at the Clevelander.
By the way, let me just say really quick. Do you guys know there's like an Instagram account that tracks the bright line and whenever it hits
Yeah,
somebody?
it's propagandized, man.
But
Like for example, the most recent post there was once again Brightline hits another, and the details of the person driving the car was Baker acted because he purposefully drove into the Brightline was omitted.
That's my point. It's like regardless of whose fault it is, isn't this proof positive that like South Florida drivers, Miami drivers are the worst?
They're the worst.
Is it ever the train's fault?
The train
it's
is
never
never
the
a
train.
surprise.
It literally goes in one direction.
Never a surprise.
It doesn't
3
jump.
minutes before it comes, it's like ding, 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 ding.
Bells and arms.
I will say, in the defense of some people, the traffic patterns around some of the train stops, especially in Miami, it makes no sense. There's like intersections at train crossings.
Because we just put that train here.
Exactly. I could see how people would get confused, especially. Actually, real quick. I'm going to run out of time, but I have a great train story for the next.
No. We will stick with the train story
Okay.
because we also need to get Dan's reaction to the end of the world, or possibly rubbing one out.
What?
That's how he's going to go viral, by the
awkward.
way.
That's let's not.
I wish I didn't frame it that way because I wasn't.
Okay, I'll tell my
terrible setup.
Let me
apologize.
segue into my train story. So I was actually walking across a train crossing with Willow a few months ago. We were walking across a train crossing, and the lights started going on, and the bar started going down, and there was a guy next to me, and we both stopped. And the bar went down and landed and like hit him in the head. Like he was standing at the sidewalk.
He could have gotten out of the way.
And it hit him.
He deserves it.
It was like ding, 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 and it hit him in the head. He
That
turned.
slow-mo.
No!
He turns to me. He turns to me and he says, "You could have warned me."
Really?
I swear to God, my jaw hit the floor.
Fucker came out of nowhere.
It was my fault that this guy was not paying attention and the thing ding, ding, ding onto his head. I was like, I just laughed and I was like, this has got to be a joke. He was 100% serious. He wanted me to warn him.
And then a train killed him.
Because the ding, ding, ding wasn't enough, I guess.
The Dan LeBatard Show with Stugotz is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. DraftKings official flowers for Valentine's.
Whole lot of Super Bowl coverage everywhere, but as others are intensely covering the Super Bowl, we go out to our baseball guys, our movie guys, the stars, respectively, of Nothing Personal and Cinephile, David Samson and Adnan Verk, to do our top 5 football movies. I believe that, generally speaking, I'm going to have a hard time finding 5 football movies I think are great. I think football generally does not produce very good movies. Baseball can produce some. Basketball hasn't produced many either, but I think football is particularly weak. Let's see what they've got here, because between the two of you, if there's a lot of disagreement here, it means that you guys are going to find 10 football movies that you think worthy of, respect, and I'm not sure there have been 10 of those made, but we'll see. We're going to start with David Samson, as we usually do. Again, Nothing Personal is his podcast. It covers sports business very well, covers a lot of terrain very well. Let's start, David.
The sports business stuff is good, Dan. The movie stuff is not so good. Just make that clear for the audience. Go.
Okay, there is a lot of
Adnan?
There is a lot of disagreement here. I feel like it was gratuitous before we've even started, but he's doing sort of calisthenics here. It's like Jim Carrey warming up for that Cable Guy exhibition. Let's see what we've got here, David Samson. Number 5, please.
I had a hard time getting down to 5. That's how many good football movies there are. Number 5 is Brian's Song.
Chris Cody, you're the executive producer. That requires fanfare. I don't know what you're doing other than sitting there staring at me.
No, I hit the button. It just didn't work.
That's not what was happening. You weren't anywhere near the button.
No, I saw it. It just didn't work. For some reason, it didn't fire off.
Computer's buffering.
That was a good one. It's from the 1970s. Jessica, have you seen that one? It's about dying, and it's sad.
I've heard it's very sad. I have not seen it.
Number 4. Again, though, it's a 50-year-old movie.
Gale Sayers, right?
Yes, it's 50-year-old.
James Caan, terrific. Yeah.
Number 4.
Rudy. Who can't root for Sean Astin? He's my size. It's a great performance, and it is what I always wished I could do. Just give me one moment in time.
No. Overrated is Rudy. I love Ned Beatty. He's fantastic. And yes, it's notable for the fact Jon Favreau is a cameo, Vince Vaughn as well. But David, you know as well as I, this is not just stretching the truth. This is stretching all credibility. This guy is a walk-on who had one play in his life. And all of a sudden, that's worthy of being one of the greatest football movies of all time. I like the last 10 minutes. The previous hour 40, a little bit ridiculous. I don't need Charles S. Dutton all of a sudden being redeemed, this old, aging black man now redeemed by this young football player who gets his moment in the solitary clapping in the tunnel. It's very far-fetched. I can't believe it's in your top 5.
My parents
I
are in
can't
that
believe that
movie.
you had that much to say negative about Rudy. I don't think I've met anybody who didn't love Rudy.
The dad and the brother cheering in the crowd at the end is Goosey's every time.
That's the scene that my parents were there. Yeah.
Your parents were in the
Wait, they
actual
were there?
movie?
They were, yes, they're in Rudy. They filmed the crowd, the stadium scenes of Rudy during halftime of a Notre Dame game. I believe I may have been in utero at the time, actually.
Hey.
I'll have to look into that.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Lebatard Show. If Jessica was in the womb at the Notre Dame game featured in Rudy, does it mean she was at the game? Yes or no? At Lebatard Show. Are you guys starting the last 10 minutes with the scene of all of the players coming in and putting their jerseys on the desk?
Exactly. No, I'm not including that, Dick, because that's the most ridiculous scene. Like, that never happened. It's so absurd.
It's a movie.
This one's for Rudy.
No one said it's
This
a
one's for Rudy.
documentary.
It's a ridiculous scene. It's so overly sentimental and ridiculous.
I can't wait for you to criticize my number 3.
Number 3.
The Water Boy. Go ahead. I'm just going to tell you that if you watch The Water Boy and A, don't think it's a football movie, and B, you don't laugh,
It's not that funny.
You're a Grinch.
Billy Madison's funnier. Mr. Deeds is a little bit funnier. Like, this isn't that funny. The Water Boy of Adam Sandler's oeuvre, not strong. Doesn't carry the water.
Saying oeuvre.
Okay. Well, that's
I'd
the
rather you
truth.
say in utero.
I don't
Nirvana,
feel I don't feel like you can use oeuvre when it comes to the Adam Sandler genre. I do believe that particular genre doesn't deserve that word.
We'll up upon it all day. We'll up upon it all day.
Number 2.
We already have one Pablo in the company, Adnan. Number 2, The Blind Side. I am more than happy to ignore the reality of what went on and whether or not it's true, not true, what
Not
he
true.
knew. Is it a money grab? What did the parents know? All I know is Sandra
Horrible
Bullock
people.
won an Academy Award, and The Blind Side is the second best football movie I've ever seen.
That's an absurd take. I mean, this is one of these movies that appeals to the heartland. It's got all these old school values, i.e., square, boring, generic, soft focus. Like, there's nothing with The Blind Side that's awfully memorable. It's so contrived. It's so melodramatic, David. How could you fall privy to Hollywood machinations to actually get seduced into this kind of nonsense?
Well, I try never to fall into machinations, but I do like being seduced.
Hell yeah.
Number 1.
The best football movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it is the Cameron Crowe oeuvre, Jerry Maguire.
You complete me. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, it's all right. Cuba Gooding Jr. never should have won an Oscar. It's a little absurd now in retrospect. He's a pretty average actor. Who was an Academy Award winner, but it's got some moments. Again, number 1 is outlandish, but it's a good movie. It's got some moments.
It's one of the great quotable movies there is. People, when you say you had me at hello, people know exactly what that is, even if they haven't seen the movie. When you talk about a treatise or an opus, what he did, when you have dealt with agents the way I know you have and I have, it really is spot on. And Jay Moore, and it's just a perfect movie, actually.
The perfect movie. Are you guys, do you have Adnan in your top 5 without spoiling it? Do you have any of his movies in your top 5?
No, I don't, Dan, because I like to have good movies in my list. So my list is actually excellent. I've ignored all of Samson's list because it's obviously terrible movies. I mean, I'm still can't go over The Blind Side at number 2, but go ahead. Number 5.
No, hold on. Just before we do that, are you in disagreement with me the way David is on what I believe, which is there haven't been that many good football movies made?
I would agree with you on that, Dan. I think generally baseball, again, the sport closest to me and David's heart, I think is just rich terrain when it comes to baseball. Boxing movies, of course, there's a ton. Raging Bull, Rocky, Requiem for a Heavyweight. You can go all the way back to the 50s and 60s. Fat City is a great film. So, yeah, I think boxing and baseball lends itself there. Football, not very fertile territory for great football movies.
Basketball's worse, though, right?
Yes, worse. Hoop Dreams, White Men Can't Jump. Hoosiers. That's it.
Fast Break.
Love and basketball.
Love and Basketball.
Teen Wolf. Number 5, Adnan.
I'll take Teen Wolf. I had 11 basketball. Number 5 is North Dallas 40. Terrific book. Adapting the movie, Nick Nolte. That was a movie that was a really showcased how tough that football was, how tough these football players were. It was gritty, it was hard edge. And again, as I've said to you before, Dan, Nick Nolte has a voice like a talking ashtray, so he's got to be on this list of great football movies. That's number 5.
Do we have the Nick Nolte mugshot ready to go?
Video, throw that up at some point before the end of the segment, whenever you want to. But again, Tony, Jeremy, Jessica, I worry about the fact that you have now selected another movie from the 1970s that our young people could not possibly have any less interest in. All of them turn their nose up at Adnan's number 5.
I've never heard of it.
I
thought it was a
Falk in
highway.
it? I mean,
Take the North Dallas 40 this way. Head out that way. You're good.
That is
True or not true?
Put it on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard
true.
Show. North Dallas 40, a 70s football movie or direction someone gave you. Number 4, Adnan.
It's a fair point by Tony. I'm going to go with Undefeated. It's an outstanding sports documentary. It came out a few years ago on Netflix. Won an Academy Award. It's really, to me, what grassroots football is all about. And when you look at the impact that football can make in an entire community, it's what the best documentaries do, which is that take a small subject and use it in the specific, make it universal. Why am I still seeing Nick Nolte? Undefeated is number 4.
I have never heard of Undefeated. I don't know who was in that movie. I don't know anything about the movie you're just referencing. What year was that?
I'm going to say 2012.
2011.
2011, yeah.
How do you guys feel about Undefeated, Jeremy and Jessica? They picked a movie from the last 10 years. Have any of you seen it?
Never heard of it. It is a documentary that does have a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, which seems to go with a lot of what Adnan normally does on these lists.
Which is to say, rank good movies. So
I'm not. It's not a criticism.
Number
kind of sounded like it.
Number 3, it did sound like it. Number 3,
Friday Night Lights.
I didn't like that movie.
You didn't like
Didn't like them. Billy Bob Thornton is phenomenal, playing the coach who somehow motivates his team against the Permian Panthers. I mean, you're telling me you don't like this underdog story? All of your movies all about this sentimental claptrap, and then I give you a movie which is a feel-good movie in many ways. Underdog story, trying to overcome the mighty powers, Texas football, Friday Night Lights, spawned a great television show, and now you go, I didn't like that one.
Yes.
That's pretty much what he did. Number 2.
Any Given Sunday. Al Pacino as Tony D'Amato just roaring in the face of Jamie Foxx. At one scene, Oliver Stone has the chutzpah to intercut Ben-Hur with a scene between them, the chariot sequence. It's got lots going for it, including a very creepy James Woods. Lawrence Taylor's amazing. Jim Brown, one of the greatest football players of all time, is in the movie. There's a lot to love about Any Given Sunday. It's a little over the top. It's a little bit ridiculous, but nobody can deny it's very entertaining, including Cameron Diaz playing a rather unlikable owner.
It's not even James Woods' best football movie. That's a movie called Against All Odds.
Jessica,
nobody's heard of that movie.
Jessica, the size of the yawn that you just unleashed in the face of Adnan's number 2.
I don't know what you're talking. I like Friday Night Lights, by the way. The series was also, I guess, great. I mean, the second season was a travesty, but the rest of it was fun. Good characters.
Number 1.
Shout out to Connie Britton. Number 1 is Silver Linings Playbook. Bradley Cooper, fellow Philadelphia Eagles fan, phenomenal story. It mixes both romance and drama and a lot of football. Robert De Niro, Oscar-nominated Best Supporting Actor at playing a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. Great pathos in the scene in which he's talking with his son, struggling with mental illness with Bradley Cooper. The romance with him and Jennifer Lawrence. This film made Jennifer Lawrence a star after Winter's Bone put her on the map. And Cooper, until Maestro, had never been better. Silver Linings Playbook is a film that you can watch with anybody at any time. It's a great movie and a great football movie.
I would like to see that on the poll, Dan, if I could sit in your chair for less than a second. Does anyone consider Silver Linings Playbook a football movie?
Yeah, I mean, that's we were having that discussion back here. I agree it's a great movie, but football movie?
No, remember the Titans, boys? Come on.
Yeah, what the heck?
How could
Tony, forget about the Titans. It's not that great. Back to Silver Linings Playbook. How is that not a football movie?
Can neither one of you, there are no good football movies. None. And you guys picked 10 of them, and none of them is the longest yard. How the f*** does that happen during Super Bowl week? God damn it! Unbelievable!
The Dan LeBatard Show at Stugotz is presented by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Last year around the Super Bowl, and this didn't get a lot of coverage, but Andy Reid's son got into a drunk driving accident, and it was something that was in the week, the Super Bowl week of Andy Reid. Just recently here, if you guys could get the photograph for me of Patrick Mahomes Sr., Patrick Mahomes' dad has now gotten his third DUI. And I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think this is reckless, but it's mathematically probable that if you're getting 3 DUIs, you have a drinking problem. One can assume that you're not getting caught every single time you have the misfortune of drinking too much. And so Patrick Mahomes Sr. now brings this into the life of Patrick Mahomes during a very busy time in his life. And Patrick Mahomes Sr. has been charming, smoking the Joe Burrow cigars, charming on the field after games. I covered him when he was a middle reliever for the Twins. The person on your screen is younger than I am. Patrick Mahomes Sr., look at that. He looks like he has lived. Does he look younger than me to you? I mean,
about the same age.
Does he? Okay, so I look like I've been battered also. But my problem is carbs.
His is cars and drinking.
Patrick Mahomes Sr. brings this into his son's life, and he has to be pretty mortified, right? That this is what is in his son's week.
So I have 2 reactions to this mugshot. One is that I kind of, for the first time, see the Patrick, like the hair. I'm like, that is like Patrick Mahomes is like faux hawk kind of deal. First observation. The second one is, yeah, you're about to look. So the overwhelming everybody's sticking a microphone into my face dynamic of Super Bowl week. I imagine that this is both the worst possible time, but also because so many people have things that they're interested in that are not this. I wonder if there's also a bit of hiding that can take place simultaneously. But it's timing-wise, early in Super Bowl week is about the worst time for this to come out.
May I just real quick, I know that Patrick Mahomes is a grown adult and everything, but hey, dad embarrassing me this week. Like, what does it do to a relationship to have your father apparently have enough of an issue with something that he's bringing this into into his son's life this week? However, look, man, this is addiction. It is an illness. I can extend every compassion to Patrick Mahomes Sr. here and say that I understand that addictions deserve empathy, not judgment. But how about just dad? What dad or the disease just brought into his son's life this week? The shame of it.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes has had to navigate a lot when it comes to his family, be it the allegations of forcing himself up on an alleged victim or battery accusations for Jackson Mahomes, his father's drinking, his wife being a woman.
That has been interesting to watch how it is that she has been received by the internet. It's poisonous.
It is remarkable, though, when you add it all up and you spell it out in whatever way. Like, oh, but, and yet,
not unlike the Florida Gators with Tim Tebow at the center of it, you have a halo.
Yeah, not just that, but just like an apparent normalcy. Like the guy who's in the center of all of that, Dan. So when you ask, like, how does the son perceive the actions of his family humiliating him, and you think of everybody from, like, Bill Clinton's brother to, like, all these other famous historical examples of people embarrassing the person that the solar system is
Remember when
around.
it was Bill's brother that was a problem?
Oh, man, that was a time. he looked like a good time. You ever see this, like, the picture of his brother? He looked like a good time.
He was into different islands.
That happened to Jimmy Carter a million years ago. His brother was just associated with beer, and it was too scandalous in the 70s. They named a beer after him, Billy Beer. That's where it started. That family's embarrassing. I think that started with Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
publicly.
I think it started with Abel.
Wait, which one died? Cain or Abel? Which one killed the other? Who's the embarrassment?
Stephen A. would know, I think.
Cain killed Abel.
Yeah, Cain's a bad one.
So then Cain's the embarrassment, right? You just murdered somebody. Abel was cool. He didn't do anything.
Oh, victim blaming.
Anyway, another foot.
But to answer your question, Dan, I don't think any of this sticks to Pat.
That's the thing.
He's been able to navigate everything.
You guys are thinking about this the wrong way. Sticks to Pat. Does stick to Pat? Does it reflect badly on Pat? Imagine the laser focus this has. To be this great while that's happening all the time, imagine if like he had like quiet, mild-mannered family members who just want to shun the spotlight. He'd have 19 Super Bowls by now, having only played 6 years.
And he has them around all the time.
All the time.
That's the remarkable thing. Like, I would have excommunicated these people.
That's why he's better than Brady.
Easily.
He's been carrying his family around in the huddle as well. And no distractions. That's how he tops him, by having more obstacles than Brady had in his life, because Brady had stable family stuff at home.
That's right. Forget about the receiver corps, the supporting cast. We want actual family tree help.
I was going to make a wife joke, too, and I thought maybe that's a little too close to the line.
Okay, excellent.
Look, this is growth.
It means discretion continues to baffle
growth.
me.
You asked for growth. Here it is. I didn't make the joke to Jeremy over the headset.
Not this time.
No, you just stopped the show in its track with the joke you could have made.
Yeah.
Instead, you just could have stayed quiet.
We're moving towards
How do you guys feel about this story? Because this made me laugh out loud. Laugh out loud when it came across my screen. Zay Flowers getting a notice that he's been fined $10,927 for taunting.
Damn.
I know, right? Your season's over. You're an embarrassment in Baltimore. At the 1 yard line, you drop the football. Everyone's yelling at you, and then comes the bill due, where it's also this is costing you $11,000.
You're like, who ordered this? I didn't order this.
Wait,
this is the wrong check.
Zay Flowers treated the AFC title game penalty like the time I forgot to cancel Quibi. Which I did. I'm like one of the few people that had it for like an extra month.
Zay Flowers taunts Snead. Everyone says, at the moment, we're all watching that game together, and it's all some form of you fool. And also taunting should be allowed. Don't penalize that. But don't cost yourself 15 yards in this situation. They're hard to come by. You shouldn't have done that. Maybe sports should be looser. NFL kind of starched and rigid, still taunting for that, or still penalizing for that stuff. Then you get Snead, the embarrassment of the guy you taunted wins the football game by knocking the football out of your hands at the 1 yard line. And furthermore, you cut your hand on your helmet and can't play the rest of the game when they need you on those last drives. Oh my God, you fool. And then the bill comes. It reminded me of Mike Ryan with Dunk LeBatard, where we have our big chance on ESPN to be McAfee. We're going to do live watch parties. We can do it. And I curse on air, and I arrive late and drunk with the animal guy. And I yell at like Mike Foss Jr., ESPN royalty.
I never knew that there was another Mike Foss.
Yeah, I yell at him, scream at him, and we never again got that chance. And Mike Ryan is on his knees in the dirty Clevelander on the floor. And he's like, how could this have possibly gone any worse? My big chance to be an executive producer for ESPN. It couldn't have gone worse than this. And then a waitress comes by and hands him the bill. It can't get any worse than this. And then he had to pay for everybody that night, which was obviously
still paying for that night
thousands.
in many respects.
But it's the same thing.
I can't believe Foss Jr. parlayed the success of Dunk LeBatard into where he is now. It's incredible.
Zay Flowers was just getting over. And then it arrives in the mail, or an agent calls him, like, what's happening there, where he's getting notified? And if you forgot about this and forgave yourself, here's $11,000 more to remind you, you fool.
I got him getting served like a claim server, like, Zay Flowers?
Yeah.
Congrats. You've been served. Like
subpoena.
I enjoyed,
that should be a rule.
I enjoyed Travis Kelce's interview with Pat McAfee, in which Patrick Mahomes crashed. And he was talking about, there was a stretch in that game where it looked like Baltimore was getting close to a huge field goal opportunity for Justin Tucker. And given everything that happened between Justin Tucker, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes before the game, Travis Kelce admitted there was nothing that was going to stop us from getting the unsportsmanlike conduct if he missed a kick. If he missed a kick, we would have written whatever check we had to. It was going to be a scene.
How much would people have loved that if Justin Tucker missed a kick and Kelce himself went out and just got rained flags on him because he was just enjoying embarrassing the kicker for getting in the way? Man, this one's interesting, and it's always interesting to me. You'll find, I don't know if there's anything like this in basketball. The other football players do not respect the kickers. They have no use whatsoever for the kickers, and the kickers being famous and important is infuriating to Travis Kelce. If he could have mocked the best kicker we've ever seen.
Best kicker of all time, which is my whole takeaway from that is you could argue the three people at the center of this are the best to ever do it at their height. The greatest tight end we've ever seen, the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, the greatest kicker we've ever seen, and how little that matters when it comes to the interpersonal
they don't want to name him.
relations.
Both Travis Kelce and Mahomes are looking at Justin Tucker and saying, why are you even out here? Not just at the 1 yard line. Why are you in our world? Like, I would squeeze your head off.
Yeah, he's just like, what, 3 goats? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I think the symbolism is funny of Kelce and Mahomes saying, actually, literally, and through eternity, you don't belong here. This space is reserved for these people who are good at football and like you who uses your foot.
Doesn't matter that he's the greatest to do it too. He doesn't eat at that trough.
It's funny. You only get to be on the field when we don't convert. You don't get hit by anybody. Your foot hurts.
Does it?
Maybe.
I don't think his foot hurts when he kicks the ball.
Why not ask a kicker about that?
I imagine.
Depends on his toenail situation.
Come on.
Gotta go short there. Right
and
now.
Kelce and Mahomes are still mad about this. They're legitimately mad.
I just want to point out how mad I would be if I was Justin Tucker listening to this show.
Yeah,
because Dan was like, I assume his foot kind of. It's like, you have no idea what these guys do.
Well, but
we
compared
have no
to Kelce, compared to Kelce, physically, what it does to his body, it's where the disrespect comes from. They don't think he plays football. That he plays with a ball with his foot.
This is all Nigel Gruff's fault. Because he came out there and kicked with a cigarette hanging from his lip. Everyone thinks now kicking is easy. It doesn't hurt.
I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying the disrespect is real. They don't respect him.
They don't. They actually don't.
If
they're called special teams.
And if they don't respect Justin Tucker, they will never respect anyone at that
Who's
position.
more respected, kicker or punter? McAfee seems to get a lot of respect. And to me, the punter is even less of an important position than kicker.
But he had to go sleeveless to do it.
Point.
Like, think of all the compensation that McAfee's doing to prove that he's a football guy.
The Dan LeBatard Show at Stugotz is brought to you by Bayer Aspirin, the official sponsor of fans' hearts.
I am eagerly anticipating, Stugotz, this 10-part series on 20 years of the New England Patriots. And I've read a lot of deep dives, and I've seen the investigations, and their winning has been droning. It has been boring. Apple makes big things. They spend money to do things correctly. And Matthew Hamachek is with us now because this month, Apple, with much anticipation, is throwing The Dynasty out there. It premieres as, again, a 10-part series, and it's got incredible access, unusual access.
I'm certain it's going to be great, but 10 parts, I have to relive the entire Dynasty. I saw it up close and personal. I'm a Jets fan.
Well, I feel like we know much of what needs to be known here, but I'm assuming that Matthew is trying to cover ground and terrain that others haven't seen. So thank you for joining us. Just give us an idea, Matthew, of some of the stuff that you were able to dig in on that perhaps the public doesn't understand, because it is very confusing to me that in America's most popular sport, we don't totally understand how that team was able to dominate that way. And some of us view it as boring that they were able to dominate that way. I doubt very much that what you've made is boring.
No, but the first off, thanks for having me on. I couldn't agree more with both of you. I was not a fan of this team, and I think like the rest of the fan base in the NFL was sick and tired of the Patriots winning so much. And I think because of that, when we started this project, I think we realized that the only way to make it interesting is to tell sort of the unvarnished truth of the New England Patriots. And so what I mean by that is, Bill had a book written about him with Halberstam, which was great, and Tom had his own docuseries, but those were very specific lenses through which to view the story. And I think what we thought is, okay, we have this unique opportunity here to bring everybody together, many of whom have never spoken on the record about any of this stuff before. And we were going to get into every single detail of it, meaning we were going to have an entire episode about Spygate. We have an entire episode about Deflategate, about Aaron Hernandez, about the Malcolm Butler benching, every detail that I think people have been curious about, but they've never really heard these people talk about these things on the record the way they do in our Dynasty series.
Matthew, how'd you get access to guys who don't normally give access?
Well, frankly, it was through the Patriots. They, to their credit, knew the kind of thing that we were going to do and gave us free rein to do it, and were willing to connect us with everybody involved. And that included Bill, Tom, basically every player we wanted to talk to. But we also talked to other people outside of the organization, like Michael Strahan, rivals who went up against these guys and have very strong opinions about them.
Were there any limits in exchange for the access?
No, none whatsoever, which was what makes this thing so remarkable. It really is the unvarnished truth of the Patriots story.
What are the greatest challenges that you got immersed in as you tried to devote your life over to a project of this size?
Well, obviously, just the logistics of talking to all of these people, that was its own challenge. But the most fascinating thing about this was we had access to the Patriot Archive as well as the NFL Films Archive. All told, I think that was around 35,000 hours of footage. So when you think about the amount of, manpower to actually even go through that and mark what's good, and we're talking about stuff that nobody's ever seen before, right? This is inside the locker room, right after Spygate in 2007, right after the story had broke, and we're getting to see Bill address the team and how they react to it. And one of the things that I love about that season in particular is, they've won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Then they have a couple seasons go by. And then in 2007, the Spygate scandal breaks in the first game of the year against the Jets. And that's Mangini and all of that. But there's this interesting transition in that season where they go from being they started out as the legend that could in 2001, and then they become a dynasty. And then that's the season where they really become the evil empire. And when we were going through this footage, you could see them on this undefeated run, just dominating and tearing apart every team in their path. And one of the editors described it as sort of witnessing like a party on the Death Star as they go through each of the teams. And they're not just beating them, they're clobbering them. And I think to be able to see that and witness not only Bill, but Tom and all the other players that year go all the way up until the Super Bowl against the Giants, and then, have that sort of humbling moment on the biggest of stages. It's an incredible sort of episode in itself.
Without giving too much away, again, it's a 10-part series, and I'm going to ask you some pointed questions about some of the more interesting stuff in it. But if you were talking man hours and years involved in how much time has been spent putting this together, what are we talking about? How many people did you talk to? What are we talking about?
Yeah, so like I said, just going through the footage, I think was 6 months with around 50 people, working around the clock in shifts. And then on our team, it was those 50 people plus another couple dozen. And then for me personally, it was 2.5 years from start to finish, maybe even a little bit more than that. And we talked to about 80 players, coaches, front office executives, rivals, and then people who are just sort of tangentially connected fans. And so it was just a massive undertaking. And what I love it about the process is it really forces you to be collaborative. You have a massive team and you just bring in incredibly talented people and you let them cook. And I think people are going to like the result.
Give me a couple of times where some of those 50 people plus a dozen found something. You gave us one, but found something that they were bringing to you, and both of you danced around the room because you're like, that's gold right there.
I think one of the best, yes, there's the stuff in the locker room during Spygate. David Nugent, who played with Tom his rookie year, came in and we were talking to him. He lived with Tom in a condo that Tom had gotten from Ty Law, Hall of Famer. And David, when he was about to come and meet with us, said, "Oh, by the way, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but I have some home video footage of Tom and me in 2000 and 2001 living in our condo." Of course, the answer was yes. And when we saw it, it just blew us away because, the thing that we kept hearing over and over and over again was, he wasn't Tom Brady, the GOAT back then. This was just Tommy. And it's one thing to hear people talk about it. It's another thing to see Tom Brady with a popped collar in 2000, before the GQ covers and the MVPs and the Lombardi trophies.
Did your crew actually dance? I mean, it's dance around.
There were. Let me think. No, I'm not much of a dancer. I think you can probably tell from looking at me. But no, there were times where there was some good fist pumps for sure. No, I mean this was throughout the entire time. I think another one that's great, another moment that was really phenomenal was in the season after Deflategate, when Tom served his 4-game suspension. He's gone and he comes back. And he goes on a tear, and they make it all the way to the divisional round. And they beat the Houston Texans. And in that locker room afterwards, there's always guests that come with the Patriots, right? And so there were 2 guests that time. One was Rupert Murdoch, who actually has a great interview in our series, and the other one was Les Moonves. And it speaks to the power that the Patriots had at the time, right? These are the 2 networks, the 2 CEOs, the heads of the network that basically are rivals, and they're both simultaneously guests in this locker room. They've won. They're going to, at this point, probably their 7th or 8th, I'm not sure exactly which one, AFC championship in a row. And Belichick is just tearing into Tom and the rest of the team because, it's what he does and it's the culture that he created, and it works so well. But it one of the moments like that speak to like this sort of cross section of power, but also can't imagine what it's like to be those guys stepping into that locker room and seeing the dynamic between Belichick, Brady, and then the rest of the team.
What is the best of what you got from Belichick and from Brady? They are notoriously difficult interviews.
Well, I mean, Tom really was an open book, and to his credit, I still remember, we scheduled his interview. None of us really talked to him before he showed up, and we figured, he's going to show up with an entourage, he's going to have hair and makeup and all this kind of stuff. The guy just pulls up to the studio in his car by himself, steps in, didn't want to know anything about what was going to be asked or anything like that, sits down and is just an open book. And, he details things in this that I really don't think he's talked about on the record before in great detail. Belichick, I think in a lot of ways, you kind of know what he's like because we've seen him over and over and over again in his press conferences. I think what makes this situation unique, though, is that when he's on doing his press conferences, it's just him standing up there by himself. And there's not a lot of context to what he's saying. But when he's asked these questions and he's sort of put on the record over a variety of different things in the context of what everybody else is saying, I think it makes his answers pretty fascinating. I think people are going to be shocked to hear a lot of the things that are said.
Like?
Well, for Tom, I think that, he goes into all sorts of things with Alex Guerrero and what happened with all of that drama. I think all of the players talk about the relationship. And, the thing that we kept hearing over and over again is that Bill created this incredible culture at the Patriots where, Bill was at the top, everybody else was underneath Bill, and everybody was equal. There would be no superstars there. And I think that created a very selfless environment where everything was done for the betterment of the team for an incredibly long time. And then, what the people we interviewed talked about is that, that worked for most of the time, but at a certain point, it was really hard for everybody to ignore, Tom included, what Tom Brady had sort of become. And he, especially after the Atlanta Super Bowl, when he comes back from 28-3, guys talked about how, you couldn't just pretend and sit in the locker room and pretend that Tom Brady was just a 20-year-old rookie and that he should be treated the exact same way as everybody else. And I think the relationship dynamic as things came to an end there is going to be revelatory.
The Dynasty premieres February 16th on Apple TV Plus. You gave us Tom there. How about Belichick? When if I pin you down on one thing where he got bristly or one thing that he had to give you that he maybe didn't want to, you didn't out-interview Belichick. You didn't defeat him. You didn't get anything from him he didn't want you to have.
Well, you have to watch, man. You never know. No, he was great. And but look, I asked him all the questions that people want to have asked. I asked him about Spygate. I asked him about the Malcolm Butler benching, and I think he has good answers. I'm trying to think about one of the ones that I asked him about. He told. I mean, I'll tell you this. He told a great story about calling Randy Moss for the first time, and Randy being in a club. And Randy didn't believe that it was actually Bill Belichick and hung up on him several times. And the two of them sit there doing impressions of each other, which is the best part, because the way the two of them translate a phone call and what the other person is saying, what the other person is thinking is great, and just slamming those up against each other. And so Bill's sitting there thinking, like, I guess he doesn't want to come to New England. And Randy just keeps assuming that somebody is doing this gravelly Bill Belichick impression and is just trying to get him to come. And then Bill ends the phone call by saying, look, if you're not in New England by tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., you're not coming on the team. And then Randy says, I just hung up on Bill. And so just to see those kind of interactions, and it was great. And, look, when you have this kind of access, which really has never been had before, your job is to ask good questions and get out of the way and let these guys tell the story.
Did Bob Kraft give you an indication who he sided with in the tension between Brady and Belichick?
I don't know if that's sort of like that's a very binary thing. I think over the course of 20 years, it's very complicated and nuanced, right? I think that at different times, everybody talked about different ways in which that relationship and how it was viewed within the organization was felt. And I think what you see is that you really get to, Robert Kraft, as well as Scott Pioli, Ernie Adams, who was, sort of the guy behind the guy for Bill Belichick, and he was the director of football operations. Guys like that really gave us countless interviews. And so you really get to go inside their head, inside the, player personnel decisions, inside the coaching staff, and then inside ownership's head as their decision-making and the things they were thinking through evolve over time. So, yes, you get to see how it evolves. It wasn't as binary as that. It wasn't I feel this way and that's the way I stayed. It changed as the years went by.
How much new truth did you unearth around Aaron Hernandez?
Well, I think the thing that we have here with the Hernandez episode that we have, which is the 6th episode, I think people have written about it and talked about that story in a variety of different ways. What we have is, for the first time, people inside the organization and the players, the coaching staff, talking about that. I think we unearthed quite a bit, but I think more important than that, one of the things I realized as I started to talk to these guys about it is that this was somebody who everybody in the organization loved dearly. And there was a great deal of affection and care about him and the way that the story was told. And I hope that the people who talk to us about it on the record feel like we did it right. But I think that was astonishing to me and something that we really tried hard to capture. But there's tons of new information about Aaron Hernandez. And I think, people will be excited to see that. But I think more importantly, what I got from it is that these guys really cared about him and to this day still do.
The Dynasty premieres February 16th on Apple TV Plus. Again, it is exhaustive, thorough, and he is the foremost authority. He can answer the most pressing question for us. Is this indeed Bill Belichick leaving an apartment through a door, a Ring doorbell, shirtless, somewhere in a gray Boston?
Oh man, Bill and I never had the opportunity to take our shirts off, and so I can't.
You failed. You failed, Matthew.
Look,
You should do a 10-part doc on that video.
I try to do my best, but we didn't get to that level in our bond. So you have to go to another.
It's
sport.
a puff piece. It's a failure. It will not succeed. They didn't get to any hard answers. It is indeed Bill Belichick. Matthew, thank you for being on with us. Look forward to watching.
Thank you so much.
It does look like
just
him.
Great audio.
It does look like him. You take a look, Matthew, and you tell me that's not
Barrel-chested.
him.
Come on, Matthew.
Where am I?
You tell me that's not him, Matthew.
I mean, you got to be impressed. He's like 70 years old. He looks great.
Oh, he does look great.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's him. It's him. It's him. You confirmed it.
Better back than I imagined, too.
Thank you, Matthew.
All right. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks. Good
Thank
luck
you,
with it, man.
guys.
The Dan LeBatard Show at Stugotz is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. DraftKings official flowers for Valentine's.
I'm curious because football keeps growing somehow bigger and bigger and bigger. And we've just spent the last couple of segments talking about the behavior of Patrick Mahomes' family because he enters into the Brady realm of being the biggest star, biggest winner guy in the game, and all of the things that surround that. And just got done talking about a 10-part series about the Patriots dynasty. The Patriots handed over the AFC to this team. This team will be, if we can start having a conversation now about can Mahomes actually be Brady faster in 10 years because he doesn't need to play till he's 39. He just can get to championship games and win them. Even what's standing across from him is, the mastermind of today. We don't even know how good his quarterback is. Can Mahomes beat the mastermind again? Beat him by a throw when he had Garoppolo. The Chiefs are right now in the middle of making themselves the hardest thing, which is the thing that came after the Patriots. The thing in that sport that was stronger than everyone else. Baltimore, great organization for 20 years. Not what Kansas City has done, just with Mahomes.
Right, predictability, the hardest thing in a sport that's so random, oblong, in shape and in character, truly bouncing unpredictably, they have become predictable.
And with the Patriots, the way they did it was some sort of system that we thought Belichick's a genius and Brady might not be a great quarterback, but he is a great quarterback. Oh, my God, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. He's the biggest winner ever. That hands it over to this. Andy Reid, career underachiever in Philadelphia because he only got to Super Bowl.
You think even if there's a scenario in which the Chiefs win more than the Patriots won, that Mahomes can overtake Brady? Because this isn't exactly Michael Jordan, LeBron James. They played each other, and Brady's 2-0. Brady beat him in his 40s twice. So
I know, but that's what's funny about one game, two game here and there. You win in the margins. Brady won one of those Super Bowls because Pete Carroll didn't know to hand the ball off at the end, and you're like, what does that have to do with anyone's actual greatness?
Right.
I know,
Tom
but
Brady
if they're going to
actually playing against Patrick Mahomes,
if they're going to compare and contrast Mahomes versus Brady, you can't ignore that Brady beat him in his 40s twice.
So the measurement now is how do you replace Brady? You win 10 Super Bowls. So the two that he beats you don't count against you.
Not even. It had you have to go back in time to beat him, to then come back in time and then be the best.
While also playing a position on defense that you don't actually play.
So you can
in
stop
reality.
Brady. Yeah.
Correct.
Because you can't stop
I mean,
him
come
when he's
on.
just a quarterback.
That's ridiculous. What you're saying is ridiculous. So you're saying right now.
He got blown out in the Super Bowl.
So the race is called, you're saying. Tom Brady gets.
Yes, I'm saying it's done forever.
No,
He's never going to be better than Brady.
No. What we need is a flux capacitor, a DeLorean.
1.21 gigawatts.
Yeah, because we get some plutonium.
But that's what we're going to do with this power?
Or a bolt of lightning. One of the two.
You guys are telling me that instead of what we've done for 15 years with LeBron, he's not Jordan, Jordan is now going to be broadcasting LeBron's games in football for the next 10 years, lording over from the skybox. I make more than you do up here for raining down criticism. This product's mediocre. You'll never be as good as me. From the box?
Do you think he's going to do that? You think Brady's going to be in the box and say, yeah, that was cute by Mahomes. It was a nice little cute scamper there.
He's also not going to catch Tom Brady because Tom Brady's the only person in that sport's history to age that way.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else hits a wall when they get around 40. Everyone else. Does Patrick Mahomes look like the body type and the type of athlete that's going to age with grace once he hits 44?
Neither did Brady.
Yeah, but but as Brady got older, he took care of his body more.
Let this man get older and take care of his body more.
Yeah, he can reserve that right.
And
no
then
doubt.
get the DeLorean and the plutonium or a bolt of lightning.
Are you calling Patrick Mahomes pre-old?
Look, I've owned the take for several years that I don't think that's going to age with as much grace as everyone else is anticipating. And then we saw one dad bod photo and people came around.
We did see one dad bod photo and rain down shame on Mahomes for just having, come on. Because he doesn't have chiseled abs.
He also leans on, I know he's got this brilliant arm, but he leans on his athleticism certainly a lot more than Tom Brady ever did. And as you age, that part of your game does deteriorate.
See, it's funny to me that should make you
relate to
respect
this so
him even more. It's like the whole family thing. It's like, wait, he's been doing all this with that body? That's even more amazing then.
Aaron Rodgers did it until he was 37, 38, Mike. Like, Mahomes can be great for another 10 years in that body.
I hear what you're saying. 37, 38, Drew Brees did it to 37, 38. Tom Brady did it till 45. No one has done it around the age of 42. He obliterated the expectation, and he moved the goalpost to an impossible standard. He did it till 45.
Vinny Testaverde would like a word.
Let me ask Amin and Pablo this question, because I don't know how many people are going to go and get Apple because they've made a dynastic film about the sport of our time for 20 years, dominated by Belichick and Brady. They have what is the exclusive story with access that's going to be told. The director just got done telling us there were no rules. I was able to ask about anything. They weren't editing how we did this, and they got everybody. Are people tired of obsessing over that team for 20 years, or are you in for a 10-part documentary on one of the great sports and social experiments of our time, the team that conquered America's most popular sport and made it more popular?
I do think that if you're good enough at something, I want to hear you talk about that something, even if you're worse at talking than other people, right? Like, this is the Greg Olsen, Tom Brady conversation too. Like, Greg Olsen's a better announcer than Tom Brady. I just want to know how that guy thinks about football.
Well, we don't know. We haven't heard Tom Brady.
Well, so the question of, like, is he going to be subtweeting Patrick Mahomes? Is he going to be interesting? Is he motivated to be interesting? Will he be candid? What he thinks is inherently interesting in a way that Greg Olsen, who is, of course, excellent at football, or was, in a way that Greg Olsen will never be because he's not Tom Brady. So parallel question in this documentary is, do they give you the goods? Do they give you the goods? Are you motivated to say something interesting because the platform you have, speaking ex cathedra, from your papal chair of greatness.
What is that?
Pull the music, please.
What?
Ex Machina?
Yeah, hold on a second. No,
like when
what
the
is
Pope
this?
speaks.
Is this Vatican?
Yes, when the Pope
hold on a
speaks.
second.
Oh, wait,
hold on
slow
a
down.
second. Nobody knew what
We've had such a good run with Pablo.
I thought he was
Catholic.
all right. I thought he was cured.
We were just
That's
doing
what I heard.
our
Yeah.
show.
I heard a catheter.
And we didn't hear you go. Thank you.
With the full authority of office, especially that of the Pope, implying infallibility as defined in Roman Catholic doctrine. Yes,
we were supposed to know all that.
I mean,
It's not like there are a bunch of Catholics in this room.
Exactly right.
I'm recovering.
Dan, I've actually seen part of the screener of the documentary, so I saw the first 2 or 3 episodes. Brady says the F word in it.
What?
And I'm like, oh, that's one of the boys.
What? What does
boys?
that mean?
He said,
Yeah, he said.
Tom Brady, soy boy.
That's one of the boys because he curses, and now he's letting it fly.
He's letting it fly. He's open. He's honest. He's got his legs crossed. He's talking about this and that. He says the F word. I'm like,
X-rated Brady.
I'm like, yes,
more,
there he is.
More
the real Tom.
More of Brady than you've ever seen. Him cursing
in a 5-second clip. It's more than I've ever seen in 25 years of seeing Tom Brady.
I mean, Jeremy whispered in my ear as if to taunt me. Yeah, whatever, Patriots, you were great, but did you have Taylor Swift?
Yeah, she in the documentary? No, not interested.
He's got a point.
He had Giselle.
Well, he's got a point. No, Giselle.
No.
No.
I'm too young, man.
No. We're not going to say
That's disrespectful.
Yeah,
not interesting.
They don't really make
Giselle.
They don't really make supermodels anymore because now if you're a model that pitches stuff,
IG,
you have
baby.
like a certain level of fame and you're known for other things. Giselle, the supermodel concept is certainly of a time.
Come
but
on.
she was the most famous.
I mean,
I do love super going in front of a noun. Super fight, Super Bowl, supermodel. Back in my day, things used to be super.
Superman. Yeah.
We've talked about the idea that there are culture wars happening around Kelsey and Taylor Swift because football is under attack. What do soy boys like me do with the fact that Tom Brady was the second most powerful person in his household, and the thing that he did was the second hardest thing that he did in his household when it came to aging with grace? That the sport that she ruled was more cutthroat than the one he did, and that she aged better than he did, and he wanted to be the man who was most successful, but she's the one who had the coffee table book worth $50 million before he realized that football was strangling his value.
And he just got a $350 million contract to talk about the sport. I want to follow you down that logic ladder. No, Tom Brady is the Tom Brady of being old.
I'm gonna tell Dan this is how it is. Yes, all that is true, but you know what happened when push came to shove? He said, guess what? To hell with this marriage. I'm going back to football. And that's why he's not a soy boy.
His true love.
Can you please look up earnings for me on Giselle? Because I don't think that Tom Brady is in a stratosphere, not even with this, but maybe with this broadcasting contract. But I think you underestimate what it is to conquer the supermodel game.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you said, well, he followed her up until the point where
I don't think he was the big money earner in his house.
He never was.
It says during Brady's NFL career, he earned around $330 million until 2020. She earned around $500 million during that same time period.
Right. Now you add the 350 post-playing career. Guess what? Your take super sucks.
We thought that Patrick Mahomes was following Tom Brady, but I guess Travis Kelce's the one doing it.
So just to be clear, my take super sucks.
Yeah.
Because
super soaker.
Hell yeah. Because now
I don't know, $250 million outpacing.
Okay.
Yeah. Good luck, Giselle, with your broadcasting contract. Oh, that's right. There is none for models. Super or otherwise.
What'd she do for $550 million? I know be a supermodel, but
Come
how does that
on,
work?
man.
No, how does that work?
Out of a dress.
Have you ever seen Taxi? Great movie.
No, I haven't.
File.